Week 9 of the fantasy football season is here, and in case you haven't heard the news, we're without Derrick Henry. We're without 4 teams on bye this week. What are we going to do at the running back position? For this, we have to bring in our expert, senior fantasy analyst at Sports Illustrated, Michael Fabiano. Fabs, you know, I can't start DeAndre Swift this week. I've lost Derrick Henry. I feel in a bind. Who am I feeling comfortable starting this week at the running back position?
Yeah, and Saquon Barkley is on the reserve COVID-19 list, so let's keep playing Devontae Booker. I know he's not the sexiest name in fantasy football, but he hasn't been bad, right? He's quietly put up some pretty good numbers in recent weeks, 14-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. And assuming Saquon is a no-go this week, I like him against the Raiders. Their defense has actually been pretty generous to running backs, allowing 5 to score 14-plus fantasy points. So get Booker into your lineup. And I also like Myles Gaskin. What did we talk about last week, Jen, right? Every other week, Gaskin is good. Last week, he was bad. This week, well, he's got the Texans, so we're going to start him as an RB2. This is a very favorable matchup. The Texans defense has given up an average of more than 26 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. And again, this is a Gaskin smash week, so get him into your lineup.
It's definitely a Gaskin week. You're also starting Elijah Mitchell. By the way, those of you who opened up your wallets and put down the fab for Elijah Mitchell, we were all a little nervous about it, but it looks like you made a great decision. Elijah Mitchell seems to be the guy. All right. But who, if I have the luxury, again, 4 teams on bye, lots of injuries, we understand. But if you have the luxury, which running back should you sit?
Right, and that's the important part. You got 4 teams off. You got running backs hurt all over the National Football League. This is almost more for DFS or smaller leagues because some of these players you have to play. And Chase Edmonds is one of them, right? He's coming off a nice game, had almost 16 fantasy points against the Packers last week. And so he's in the flex conversation, but, I mean, the matchup's not great this week against the Niners. No defense has allowed fewer fantasy points per game to running backs since week 5. And no running back has had more than 3 catches in a game against them since the season opener, and that's where Edmonds makes a lot of his hay from a fantasy perspective. So beware Chase Edmonds and beware KHALIL Herbert. And again, I have KHALIL Herbert. I got to play him, right? But the matchup's not great against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just one running back has scored more than 11.6 fantasy points in a game against them. That was Alex Collins, right? And I get it. Herbert put up 100 rushing yards against the Buccaneers. But last week, well, he came crashing back down to earth. So I think, Jen, this is more for DFS than in traditional leagues. But Herbert does come with some risk this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also sitting Carlos Hyde versus the Bills. And I know that he was a popular waiver wire claim this week, but it's not really a great start. And the same thing for DFS. I wouldn't do it. I would stay away, though I'm not blaming anyone for making that claim because we don't know what's going on with James Robinson. So still a good idea to stash Hyde if you can avoid playing him, though.
That's the point. Like, if James Robinson can't go this week, Carlos Hyde is going to be starting in a lot of fantasy leagues because of the volume, but the matchup is not good.
The matchup is not good. But for all of Fab's start-sit decisions, and we're talking every single position, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end, defense, and even kicker, you can visit us at si.com/fantasy.